Namaste. This is Titus Leo alias Karthik Shivakumar. I'm going to talk about Bible, about the resurrection of Jesus. Now I got my friend Mr. John Heyman with me. He is from Boston. Now he will be asking me few questions and I will be explaining Bible to him. All right, Mr. John, you can start.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Why did Joseph of Arimathea make a tomb in Golgotha?
Okay, why did Joseph of Arimathea made a tomb in Golgotha? First of all, Arimathea is 20 miles away from Golgotha. Golgotha is very close to Jerusalem. Is in Jerusalem, you can say. But Arimathea is far away. Not only that, this Mr. Joseph, he was a prominent member of Jewish council, says Bible. And Bible also says he was a rich man and a secret disciple of Jesus. First of all, how can Jesus have a rich man as his disciple? Jesus said to a rich Jewish man, you have one more thing to do. That is, go to your home, sell all your belongings, give the money to the poor, come back and follow me. So that man, this is in Luke chapter 18. That man never returned, says Luke, says Bible. Now, then Jesus says, and the Bible says he was a rich man. He had a lot of belongings. Therefore, he did not come back because he didn't want to sell all his belongings and give the money to the poor and follow Jesus. Now, Jesus said, it is easier for a camel to go through the needle, to the eye of a needle, than for a rich man to enter his kingdom of heaven. So, according to these words in Luke chapter 18, rich people will never enter Jesus's so-called kingdom of heaven because a camel can never go through the eye of a needle. So a rich man can also never enter the kingdom of heaven. If you want to enter kingdom of heaven, there is only one way, and that is to follow Jesus. Now, if you want to follow Jesus, first of all, if you are a rich man, you should go home, sell all your belongings, give the money to the poor, and then come back and follow Jesus. So that is something Jesus said openly in the daylight. But Bible says Jesus had rich disciples, but they were all secret disciples whom he used to meet in the night. During the day, poor people are his disciples, and he tells them only if you are not rich, only if you give up all your wealth, and follow me, you can enter kingdom of heaven. But in the night, he had visitors who were his followers, and they were rich. So Jesus had one face in the daylight and another face after the sunset. That is what we can see in from Bible. For example, Nicodemus, he was also somebody who was rich, and he visited Jesus in the night. Now, there is no meeting between Arimathea Joseph and Jesus mentioned in the Bible. The entrance, the introduction of Arimathea Joseph is only after the death of Jesus. Now, Bible says in the book of Matthew, let me read it out for you. That evening, Matthew chapter 27, verse 57. That evening, a man named Joseph came. He was a rich man from Arimathea who had become a disciple of Jesus. He came to Pilate and asked for Jesus' body. Pilate gave him permission to take it. Joseph took the body, wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and laid it in his own new tomb. Every word is has significance. And laid it in his own new tomb, which he had carved out of the rock. And he rolled a large stone at the door of the tomb. He went away. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were there, sitting in front of the tomb. Now, according to Matthew, Matthew only mentioned Arimathea Joseph. But Jesus' body was attached to a wooden cross, attached with big nails on both his hands and on his feet. Now, an average man's weight would be about 70 to 80 kilos. If you want to attach 70 to 80 kilos into a wooden piece, what kind of a nail you should be using? How big it should be? You can imagine. It should be a very big nail. Only then you can, keep the body without falling on the cross. You can keep the body on the cross. Now, Bible says in Matthew, Arimathea Joseph came, and here that evening a man named Joseph came. One single person cannot detach the body of Jesus from the cross, and you cannot bury the body with the cross. It's not possible. So you have to detach the body first from the cross. Only then you can bury the body according to the Jewish custom. So one can ask here, if you just read Matthew, you will be confused. How can this fellow detach Jesus's body from the cross? But you can see in the other gospels that there was also this Nicodemus, another rich guy, a night visitor. So this rich man, Arimathea Joseph, was also probably a night visitor of Jesus. So two night visitors came to take Jesus's body. Now imagine they went to Pilate to ask permission. Pilate gave him permission to take Jesus' body. Joseph took the body. Joseph, together with Nicodemus, took the body because it needs two people to get the body, to separate the body from the cross. Minimum two people. Now, they took the body. And what was in their mind? Hmm? Okay, you go to Pilate, you get permission, you can take the body, and what do you do with the body? You make a barbecue and eat Jesus's body, dead body. Was that their plan? No, that was not the plan. It was already, it was all pre-planned what to do with the body. That is why there was a new tomb, a new tomb where no one was ever laid, ever buried. And this new tomb was made by Arimathea Joseph, which he had carved out of the rock. Arimathea Joseph carved a rock into a tomb. Now, why should somebody make a tomb? Those days, according to the Jewish custom, when someone dies, you have to bury the body. They are not Hindus. They don't burn the body. Hindus, it is easier. You just burn the body with some wood. You can burn the body and it is finished. But for Jews, they bury the body. For that, they need a tomb. Now, this tomb was made by Arimathea Joseph, says Matthew chapter 27, verse 60. So imagine Arimathea Joseph's grandfather was sick and in his deathbed, bedridden. He was almost dead. So he wanted a tomb for his grandfather or grandmother or anybody who was old in his family and about to die. So why should he come all the way to Golgotha to make this tomb? So this tomb was made for Jesus's burial, Jesus's body to be buried. That was the reason for this tomb. And this tomb was made by Arimathea Joseph, says Bible. He is a rich man. Why should he come all the way from Arimathea to Golgotha to make a tomb? You know, if you look at Matthew, some information are missing. But if you look in the other gospels, let me see. I will show you. Okay, I was just looking into Mark, and there is Mark is saying somewhat the same as in Matthew. Now let's go to Luke chapter 24. Sorry, chapter 23. That is where Jesus' burial. Now there was a man named Joseph. He was a good and righteous man. He hadn't agreed with this man went to Pilate and asked for Jesus' body. Okay. Okay, here it says, in which no one had ever been buried. Okay, when it says it was a new tomb, it is clear. So in Luke also, I don't get the information I'm looking for. Now let's go to John chapter 19. Okay. After this, Joseph of Arimathea asked Pilate if he could take away the body of Jesus. Joseph was a disciple of Jesus, but a secret one because he feared. Pilate gave him permission. So he came and took the body away. Nicodemus, the one who at first had come to Jesus at night, was there too. See, this is why I said you need more than one person. He bought a mixture of myrrh and aloe, nearly 75 pounds in all. Following Jewish burial customs, they took Jesus' body and wrapped it with the spices in linen clothes. There was a garden in the place where Jesus was crucified. You see this? And in the garden was a new tomb in which no one had ever been laid. But this is John chapter 19, verse 38 till 42. Because it was a Jewish preparation day and the tomb was nearby, they laid Jesus in it. Now, it is saying as if they didn't know that there was a tomb. And because it was Jewish preparation day and the tomb was nearby, they laid Jesus in it. They buried Jesus in the tomb. Because here, you see, here in if you look at this one, look, this is 1941. There was a garden in the place where Jesus was crucified, and in the garden was a new tomb in which no one had ever been laid. It does not say this tomb was made by Arimathea Joseph. That information is suppressed in John. You see, that one we find in Matthew. You see, which he had and laid in his own new tomb. Now, the question comes again. Why did Arimathea Joseph, that was Mr. John's question, why did Arimathea Joseph work so hard to make a tomb, to carve a tomb out of a rock to lay Jesus's body there? It was not made for his relatives. That much is clear. Because if you go and ask for the body of Jesus, you might get it. The Roman authority, Pilate in this case, he might give permission and he might not. He might say, no, let him hang on the cross and let his corpse be eaten by vultures. He can say that. You see, this place is called Golgotha, which means the place of skull. The place of skull. So, from the name of the place itself, we can understand. And one more thing, it says that Arimathea Joseph was courageous enough, boldly went to Pilate, which means it needs some courage because it is people who are convicted criminals. Only convicted criminals are being, crucified in Golgotha. So if you go and ask for the body, you are making the authorities understand that you are a relative to the convicted criminal. You see, there is a risk element. So usually people don't go, okay, he died on the cross, it's over. I don't want to go and claim the body and let them know that I am one among the one who's been crucified. so they don't go. Then what happens? Imagine there were two more people on either sides of Jesus who were crucified. What would have happened to their dead bodies? Just imagine. Hmm. What would have happened to their dead bodies? Like Jesus says in the Bible, vultures gather where dead bodies are. So the next day, the body is hanging on the cross, and it will start to stink, and it is on a hill, which means the vultures get a good view of dead bodies hanging on the cross. They will come and eat the flesh, and the skull. Naturally they cannot eat the skull, so skull will fall down, and that is how this place has got the name place of skull. You see, so it is a horrifying place. So who would make a garden there? What is the definition of garden? If you look into Merriam-Webster's, there are different definitions for garden. A place where you go and sit with your family, to relax, a recreation place, and where you have small plants with flowers. Such a place can be called garden. But who is going to make such a garden in the place of skull? Nobody is going to make the garden. So what kind of a garden it was? Now the next possibility is garden is where you have vegetation, like salads, tomatoes, potatoes, carrots. You can have a small garden. But who would make who would want to have vegetation in the place of skull? Nobody. So what kind of a garden it was? Then there is one more choice, one more garden, that is trees, just with huge trees. So I think it was a garden, not with flowers, not with vegetation, but simply with trees. And and inside the garden was the tomb, says Bible, the book of John, chapter 19. Now, um, so this garden is actually hiding the tomb. Nobody can see it. So Arimathea Joseph, because he is a rich man, he can stay in Jerusalem and come in the night to carve this rock which was in Golgotha. First, he must have made this is you have to understand that this is Lucifer's work. I am explaining to you. Lucifer waited 1,500 years to find a woman like Mary to to manifest himself as in a human form. So if he can wait 1,500 years, he can also work a couple of decades to build a garden with trees and work inside, carving a big piece of rock into a tomb. And one more thing, please note, in the book of Luke, chapter 24, I will show it to you just to make you understand the size of the garden. Very early in the morning, on the first day of the week, the women went to the tomb. The women, bringing the fragrant spices they had prepared. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb. But when they went in, so all the women went in. So it was a big tomb because all these women could, could go in. That means it's a very spacious tomb. That is what it means. So, and how many women were there? Let us find out. Okay. When they returned from the tomb, okay, here. It was Mary Magdalena, number one, Joanna, number two, Mary, the mother of James, number three, and the other women with them. So there were many women, at least eight or seven women were there. And when they went inside, what did they see? But when they went in, they didn't find the body of the Lord Jesus. They didn't know what to make of this. Suddenly, two men were standing beside them in gleaming bright clothing. So, two men are also there. So, at least 10 people can be in this tomb, which means it's a quite spacious tomb. Now, the next question is, Jesus is one simple person. Okay, this is all pre planned. You have to get Jesus's body, and you cannot carry Jesus's body and bury it in a different place because Arimathea Joseph is a secret disciple. If he carry the body from Golgotha to Arimathea, then everybody would know that he was a secret disciple of Jesus. Being a prominent member of Jewish council, he was acting like a spy of Jesus. Actually, that is what he was. Now, so he wouldn't take that risk. That is life threatening. So, what would he do with the dead body of Jesus? That is the question. The answer is he had already made a tomb with his own hands to bury Jesus' body, which first he made a garden, which might have taken 10 or 20 years, and then he made the tomb, which might have taken 1 or 2 years, to carve a rock, and he can only work in the night time. He cannot work during the day. Look, this man, Arimathea Joseph, was possessed by many, many demons. That much is clear because he knew years before that Jesus was going to die at Golgotha. You see the problem? You see where we are heading at. Now, I think I've talked a lot. I have partially answered Mr. John's question. Mr. John, we would, I'm sure you have many more questions to ask, but I would like to make this into small uh, segments. So you have asked one question. I have partially answered it. There is more to talk about your question, and we can continue this the do in a second part. What do you say, Mr. John? Is that okay with you?
That will be fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Because otherwise it will be too much for the listeners also. Okay. So I'm stopping here. Thank you for listening. There is much more to come. Okay. Thank you.